You killed my brother, and now you're going to pay. Dr. Amara Okafor's blood turned to ice as she read the anonymous text message. Her hands trembled, nearly dropping her phone as she stood outside Lagos Premium Mall, the city's most exclusive shopping center. The message had arrived just as she was heading to her night shift as head of security, a job she'd taken to pay off crushing medical debts while hiding from her past. What she didn't know was that 10 feet away, sitting in tattered clothes with a cardboard sign reading "Please help, God bless," was the very man she feared was hunting her. Kwame Asante, pharmaceutical billionaire and heir to Asante Industries' empire, watched her through tired eyes that had seen too much betrayal. "Are you all right, sister?" Kwame called out in his carefully practiced pidgin English, his billionaire accent buried deep. For 3 months, he maintained this disguise outside Lagos Premium Mall, searching for someone who could love him for who he truly was, not his bank account. Amara looked down at the beggar she'd grown fond of over the past weeks. She'd been bringing him food and medical supplies, never suspecting that beneath those weathered clothes sat one of Africa's richest men. "I'm fine, Emeka," she lied, using the false name he'd given her. "Just work stress." But she wasn't fine. 2 years ago, Dr. Amara Okafor had made a mistake that haunted her every waking moment. During a critical surgery at Lagos University Teaching Hospital, a medical device had malfunctioned, leading to the death of 25-year-old Kojo Asante. The hospital had covered it up to protect their reputation, but Amara knew the truth, and someone else apparently did too. "Sit with me, Small," Kwame suggested, patting the ground beside him. "Sometimes talking helps." Amara glanced around the busy mall entrance. Shoppers hurried past, designer bags in hand, completely ignoring the homeless man. If only they knew they were walking past someone worth more than most small countries' GDP. "I can't tonight. Security round starts soon." She handed him a wrapped sandwich. "But, Emeka, if someone wanted to hurt you, what would you do?" Kwame's heart clenched. In his 3 months of playing this role, he'd learned that Amara carried deep pain. He'd also discovered something that terrified him. He was falling in love with her gentle spirit and fierce determination. "Depends on whether they deserve the hurt they want to give," he said carefully. Before Amara could respond, her radio crackled. "Dr. Okafor to the security office immediately. We have a situation." She looked down at Kwame with apologetic eyes. "I have to go." As she hurried away, neither of them noticed the man in the expensive suit watching from across the street. Yemi Adebayo, Kwame's former business partner and the man who'd stolen his fiancée, smiled coldly as he pocketed his phone. The same phone he'd used to send that threatening message. Inside the mall security office, Amara's supervisor handed her a manila envelope. "This came for you," marked urgent. With shaking fingers, Amara opened it. Inside were hospital records that should have been sealed forever. Records showing that the defective heart valve that killed Kojo Asante had come from a batch manufactured by Asante Industries. Records that proved she'd unknowingly used a faulty device made by the dead man's own family company. But there was more. A photograph of her talking to Kwame outside the mall, with a note scrawled across it. "The beggar you've been feeding is Kojo's brother. He knows what you did. Run." The envelope slipped from her numb fingers as the horrible truth crashed over her. The kind homeless man she'd been caring for, the man she'd started to have feelings for, was the brother of the patient she'd failed to save. Will Amara discover that her homeless friend is actually the billionaire brother of her victim? What game is Kwame really playing? Like and subscribe to find out how this deadly deception unfolds. "Mr. Asante, your brother's killer is feeding you sandwiches." Kwame stared at the photographs Yemi Adebayo had just slid across the mahogany table in the penthouse office of Asante Towers. His hands clenched into fists as he looked at images of himself disguised as a beggar, accepting food from Dr. Amara Okafor. "You've been playing dress-up with the woman who murdered Kojo," Yemi continued, his voice dripping with false sympathy. "How does it feel to know she's been pitying you while hiding what she did?" 6 hours earlier, Kwame had been planning to reveal his true identity to Amara. He'd fallen completely in love with her compassion, her strength, the way she treated him with dignity when the rest of the world saw only a homeless man. Now, staring at hospital records that proved she'd been the surgeon who failed to save his younger brother, his world crumbled. "She doesn't know who I am," Kwame said through gritted teeth. "Doesn't she?" Yemi leaned back in the leather chair that had once been Kwame's. After stealing Kwame's fiancée and half his business empire, Yemi had made himself comfortable in the power vacuum. Think about it. What are the odds that the doctor who killed your brother just happens to befriend a beggar outside a mall? Maybe she's been playing you all along. Kwame's mind raced. For 3 months, he believed their connection was pure, untainted by his wealth or status. But the evidence before him painted a different picture. The medical device that had failed during Kojo's surgery bore the Asante Industries serial number. It had been his own company's product that killed his brother. The device malfunctioned, Kwame whispered. It wasn't just doctor error. No, Yemi said, his smile turning predatory. It was your company's fault, and she knew it. She's been getting close to you, probably planning to extort money or destroy your reputation further. Meanwhile, 3 floors below in the mall, Amara sat in her security office, staring at the threatening photographs. Her phone buzzed with another anonymous message. "Meet me at the parking garage. Level 3. Come alone, or everyone learns your secret." Her hands shook as she looked at the grainy image of herself with Kwame. The kind homeless man she'd grown to care about was connected to the worst mistake of her life. But how? And why was someone threatening her now? Amara grabbed her pepper spray and headed for the parking garage. The mall was closing, and the upper levels were nearly deserted. Her footsteps echoed in the concrete structure as she made her way to level 3. "Dr. Amara Okafor." The voice came from the shadows near a pillar. She spun around to see a well-dressed man step into the light. He was handsome in a cold, calculating way, with expensive clothes and predator eyes. "Who are you? What do you want?" "My name is Yemi Adebayo, and I want justice for Kojo Asante." The name hit her like a physical blow. You're his family?" "I'm his brother's business partner. The brother you've been manipulating." Yemi pulled out his phone, showing her a video. "This is live feed from Kwame's office. He's watching this conversation right now." Amara's blood turned to ice as she realized the homeless man she knew as Emeka was actually Kwame Asante, billionaire, heir to a pharmaceutical empire, and brother to the man who died on her operating table. "He doesn't know I'm recording this," Yemi continued. "But I thought he deserved to hear your confession. Tell him what you did to his brother." Back in his office, Kwame watched the live feed on Yemi's phone, his heart breaking as he saw the woman he loved standing in that parking garage, terror written across her face. I didn't know who he was," Amara said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I was just being kind to someone who needed help." "Kindness?" Yemi laughed cruelly. "Or guilt? Did you think you could ease your conscience by feeding the homeless?" "It wasn't like that." Tears streamed down Amara's face. "I made a mistake during surgery. The heart valve failed, but I didn't know. I had no idea it was manufactured by his family's company." In his office, Kwame felt his world collapse. The woman he loved hadn't sought him out for love. She'd been living with the guilt of his brother's death, trying to assuage her conscience through charity. "You want to know the beautiful irony?" Yemi continued, his voice turning vicious. "The batch of valves that killed Kojo, they were sabotaged by me. I needed Asante Industries to fail so I could buy out Kwame's shares cheap. Your surgical skills were never the problem, doctor. You were just the convenient scapegoat." Has Yemi just revealed the shocking truth behind Kojo's death? Will Kwame hear this confession that could clear Amara's name? Smash that like button and hit subscribe to see if love can survive this web of betrayal. "You killed my brother to steal my company." Kwame's voice cut through the parking garage like a blade as he emerged from behind a concrete pillar. He'd heard every word of Yemi's confession, and rage consumed him like wildfire. Yemi spun around, his phone clattering to the ground. "Kwame, I can explain." "Explain what?" "How you sabotaged medical devices to destroy my reputation. How you let an innocent doctor carry guilt for your crimes." Kwame advanced on his former friend, his beggar disguise making him look like an avenging spirit. Amara stood frozen between them, her mind reeling. The homeless man she'd cared for was a billionaire. The medical device that had haunted her dreams had been sabotaged. Nothing she believed about that terrible night was true. You don't understand the pressure I was under. Yemi backed away, his usual confidence cracking. Your father was going to hand you everything. I built that company too, but I would have gotten nothing. So you murder my brother. It was never supposed to kill anyone. I just wanted to create recalls, damage the stock price. Kwame lunged forward, but Amara stepped between them. Stop. Violence won't bring Kojo back. Get out of the way, Amara, Kwame snarled, his cultured voice finally breaking through a street accent. This man destroyed everything I cared about, including me. Her voice was barely a whisper, but it stopped Kwame cold. Was I just part of your revenge plan? Did you know who I was when you started playing beggar outside the mall? Before Kwame could answer, Yemi made his move. He dove for his phone, frantically typing as security alarms began blaring throughout the mall. What did you do? Amara demanded. Insurance. Yemi gasped, backing toward the stairwell. I just sent copies of the doctor's confession to every major newspaper in Lagos. By morning, everyone will know Dr. Amara Okafor killed Kojo Asante through medical negligence. They'll never hear my side of the story. Kwame felt the world tilt. In seconds, Yemi had destroyed any chance of Amara's reputation recovering. Even if they proved the sabotage, the court of public opinion had already been poisoned. You bastard, Kwame whispered. Maybe, but I'm a rich bastard who's about to be even richer. Yemi pulled out another phone. Oh, and Kwame? The investors are meeting tomorrow morning. With all the bad publicity about faulty Asante Industries devices killing patients, they're voting to remove you as CEO. I'll be taking over permanently. Security guards pounded up the stairwell as Yemi disappeared into the shadows. Within minutes, the parking garage was flooded with mall security, Lagos police, and news crews who'd somehow arrived impossibly fast. Amara found herself surrounded by reporters shoving microphones in her face. Dr. Okafor, is it true you've been stalking the Asante family? How long have you been manipulating the billionaire heir? Did you kill Kojo Asante on purpose? Kwame tried to reach her, but police officers held him back. His beggar disguise made them treat him like a vagrant who didn't belong in the chaos of Nigeria's biggest medical scandal. Amara, he called out, but she was already being led away by police, her hands cuffed behind her back. The last thing he saw before she disappeared was the look of absolute betrayal in her eyes as she stared at him. The homeless man who turned out to be the billionaire whose brother she'd allegedly killed. By midnight, every news station in West Africa was running the story. Doctor's deadly deception, how a killer physician manipulated a grieving billionaire. The narrative was simple and devastating. Dr. Amara Okafor had killed Kojo Asante through negligence, then seduced his grieving brother while disguised as a security guard. None of the reports mentioned sabotaged medical devices or Yemi Adebayo's confession. In his penthouse apartment, Kwame stared at the news coverage, his heart breaking as he watched Amara's professional life collapse in real time. Lagos University Teaching Hospital had already suspended her. The Nigerian Medical Association was launching an investigation. Her photo was plastered across every social media platform, with thousands of comments calling for her imprisonment. His phone buzzed with a message from Yemi. The board meeting is at 9 a.m. Don't bother showing up. By lunch, I'll control Asante Industries, and you'll be just another rich boy who lost everything. Oh, and your girlfriend? She'll be lucky to avoid prison. Will Kwame lose his company and the woman he loves in one devastating blow? Can Amara survive the media storm that's destroying her life? Don't miss the next chapter. Like and subscribe to see if true love can overcome this ultimate betrayal. I'm going to destroy you, piece by piece, until you beg for mercy. Kwame stood in the empty boardroom of Asante Industries, his words echoing off the mahogany walls as Yemi settled into the CEO chair. The emergency board meeting had lasted exactly 17 minutes, long enough for the investors to vote Kwame out and install Yemi as the new chief executive. Is that a threat? Yemi smiled, adjusting his new executive nameplate. Because threatening corporate officers is a crime, and you're already under investigation for emotional manipulation of a vulnerable woman. The morning newspapers painted the picture Yemi had orchestrated. Kwame Asante, billionaire playboy, had disguised himself as a homeless man to psychologically torture the doctor who'd killed his brother. The story was scandalous, heartbreaking, and completely false. "You murdered Kojo," Kwame said quietly, "and you destroyed Amara's life to cover it up. But you made one mistake." "What's that?" "You recorded your confession." Kwame held up his phone. Every word. The sabotage, the cover-up, everything. For the first time, uncertainty flickered in Yemi's eyes. That recording was made illegally. It'll never hold up in court. Maybe not in court, but the media loves a good story. Kwame moved toward the door, especially when it involved a murderer who stole a company through sabotage. Meanwhile, across the city, Amara sat in a holding cell at Kirikiri police station, staring at the concrete walls that had become her world. 24 hours ago, she'd been Dr. Amara Okafor, respected physician and security professional. Now she was headline news as Nigeria's most hated woman. "You have a visitor," the guard announced, keys jangling. Amara looked up to see her sister, Kemi, standing in the doorway with tears streaming down her face. "They're saying terrible things about you," Kemi whispered as they sat across from each other in the visitor's room. "The hospital fired you. The medical board suspended your license. And the Asante family lawyers are talking about filing criminal charges." "None of it's true," Amara said, her voice hoarse from crying. "The device was sabotaged. I heard the man confess, but no one will listen." "The homeless man?" "Amara. He's a billionaire. Why would he disguise himself as a beggar?" Before Amara could answer, another visitor was escorted in. She gasped when she saw Kwame, no longer in his beggar disguise, but wearing an expensive suit that emphasized his true status. "I need to talk to her alone," Kwame told Kemi. "No." Kemi stood protectively in front of her sister. "You've done enough damage. Please." Kwame's voice broke. "I love her. I'm trying to fix this." Kemi studied his face for a long moment, then reluctantly left them alone. "Why?" Amara's question was barely audible. "Why pretend to be homeless? Why let me care about you when you knew what I'd supposedly done to your brother?" "Because I didn't know who you were until yesterday," Kwame said desperately. "I started the disguise to find someone who could love me for myself, not my money. When I met you, when you showed kindness to a stranger, I fell in love. The connection was real, Amara. But you know who I am now. You know I killed your brother." "No." Kwame leaned forward urgently. "You didn't kill Kojo. Yemi did. He sabotaged the medical devices to crash our stock price so he could buy out my shares. I have his confession recorded." Hope flickered in Amara's eyes for the first time since her arrest. "You can prove it." "I'm trying. But he's destroyed the evidence, bribed officials, and turned the media against us." Kwame's hands clenched into fists. "He owns my company now. He has unlimited resources. And he's promised to put you in prison if I try to expose him." Before Amara could respond, the visiting room door burst open. Police officers flooded in, led by Detective Inspector Chika Okonkwo. "Mr. Asante, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud and emotional manipulation of a crime victim." "What?" Kwame shot to his feet. "This is ridiculous." "New evidence has come to light," Inspector Okonkwo continued, snapping handcuffs around Kwame's wrists. "Phone records show you've been planning this deception for months. You deliberately targeted Dr. Okafor as part of an elaborate revenge scheme." As Kwame was dragged away, he looked back at Amara desperately. "The recording is in my apartment. Safe deposit box 447 at First Bank, Lagos. The key is..." The door slammed shut, cutting off his words. Amara sat alone in the visitor's room, her mind racing. Kwame had evidence that could clear her name, but he was now imprisoned just like her. Yemi controlled Asante Industries, the media, and apparently the police investigation. Will Amara and Kwame find a way to expose Yemi's crimes from behind bars? What deadly game is Yemi playing next? Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to see how this battle for justice and love continues. If we're going down, we're taking him with us. Amara whispered the words through the ventilation grate, connecting her cell to Kwame's in the Lagos maximum security prison. 3 weeks had passed since their arrests, and their situation had grown desperate. Yemi had consolidated power, destroyed evidence, and was systematically eliminating anyone who could threaten his position. "The bank key," Kwame whispered back. "Did you understand what I said before they cut me off? Safe deposit box 447, First Bank, Lagos. But the key, hidden in my apartment, behind a family photo on my nightstand. But Yemi's people have been watching the building." Amara pressed her face against the cold metal grate. In the darkness, she could barely make out Kwame's silhouette in the adjacent cell. "My sister Kemi might be able to help. She works as a cleaner at First Bank. It's too dangerous. Yemi has people everywhere. If he catches anyone trying to access that box, then we find another way." Amara's voice hardened with determination. "What else do you know about his operation?" Over the next hour, Kwame revealed everything. Yemi hadn't just sabotaged medical devices. He'd been running a complex scheme to acquire African pharmaceutical companies through manufactured scandals. The Asante Industries takeover was just the beginning. "He's planning to expand across West Africa," Kwame explained. "Ghana, Senegal, Ivory Coast. Create medical crises, blame local companies, then swoop in as the savior with foreign investment." "How many people will die?" Amara asked, horror creeping into her voice. "Hundreds, maybe thousands." Meanwhile, outside the prison walls, Yemi was holding court in the penthouse office that had once belonged to Kwame. The man sitting across from him was Dr. Emeka Nwosu, chief medical officer at Abuja General Hospital. "The cardiac surgery program needs new equipment," Dr. Nwosu was saying. "Heart valves specifically." "Of course," Yemi smiled, sliding a contract across the desk. "Asante Industries can provide everything you need. Latest technology, best prices in Africa." What Dr. Nwosu didn't know was that the devices were from the same sabotage batch that had killed Kojo Asante. Yemi had simply repackaged them with false serial numbers and forged safety certificates. "There is one concern," Dr. Nwosu hesitated. "The news stories about Dr. Okafor and your previous CEO. Some of my staff are worried about device reliability." "Completely understandable." Yemi's smile never wavered. "Which is why I'm offering a special guarantee. If any device fails within the first year, Asante Industries will cover all medical malpractice costs and provide replacement equipment free of charge." It was a brilliant strategy. When the sabotage devices inevitably failed and patients died, Yemi would blame the doctors, then offer to help by acquiring their hospitals at rock-bottom prices. Back in prison, Amara had developed a plan. During their daily exercise period, she'd observed that the guard rotation changed at 3 p.m. every Tuesday. There was a 17-minute window when the phone bank was unmonitored. "I can call Kemi," she told Kwame through the grate. "Give her the apartment location and bank information." "Amara, if they catch you using the phone unauthorized, they'll add it to my life sentence." She laughed bitterly. "I'm already facing murder charges. What's a few more years?" Tuesday arrived gray and rainy. During exercise time, Amara watched the guards carefully. At exactly 3:03 p.m., the rotation occurred as expected. She slipped away from a yard and into the phone bank. Her hands shook as she dialed Kemi's number. "Amara? How are you calling me? Listen carefully. I don't have much time." Amara quickly explained about the key and the safety deposit box. "The recording will prove everything. But you have to be careful. Yemi has people watching." "I'll get it," Kemi promised. "But Amara, there's something you need to know. The news is reporting that more patients have died. 3 different hospitals, all using Asante Industries devices. They're calling it an epidemic of medical negligence." Amara's blood turned to ice. "He's killing more people. The families are demanding answers. There's talk of shutting down the entire cardiac surgery program at Lagos University Teaching Hospital." Before Amara could respond, footsteps echoed in the corridor. Guards were returning early from their break. "I have to go," she whispered urgently. "Get that recording, Kemi. People are dying." She hung up and tried to slip back to the exercise yard, but it was too late. "Okafor, Guard Captain Adunni's voice boomed through the phone bank. What are you doing here? Will Kimmy successfully retrieve the evidence that could save lives? Has Amara been caught in a trap that will destroy their last hope? Don't miss what happens next. Smash that like button and subscribe for the shocking revelation that changes everything. One more step, and your sister dies in that prison cell. Kwame Okafor froze in the hallway of Kwame's luxury apartment building, her hand inches from his front door. The voice behind her was smooth, cultured, and absolutely terrifying. She turned slowly to face Yemi Adebayo, who stood casually by the elevator with two large men in expensive suits. Security cameras had been disabled, and the hallway was eerily quiet. Mr. Adebayo, Kimmy tried to keep her voice steady. I was just breaking into a billionaire's apartment to steal evidence that could destroy me. Yemi stepped closer, his smile never wavering. Did you really think I wouldn't be watching every move your family makes? Meanwhile, 3 floors below in the building's parking garage, another drama was unfolding. Inspector Chika Okonkwo sat in her police cruiser, staring at surveillance photos of Kimmy entering the building. Her phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. Inspector Okonkwo, this is Dr. Emeka Nwosu from Abuja General Hospital. I need to report suspicious medical device failures. Sir, you'll need to call the medical device regulatory. People are dying. Dr. Nwosu's voice cracked with desperation. Heart valves from Asante Industries. 3 patients dead in 2 days. The same type of failures reported in Lagos. Inspector Okonkwo sat up straighter. She'd been investigating the Asante case for weeks, and something about the evidence had never felt right. Too convenient, too perfectly packaged. Doctor, I need you to preserve every piece of evidence. Don't let anyone from Asante Industries near those devices. Back in the apartment hallway, Yemi was enjoying his moment of triumph. Your sister made quite a scene when we caught her using the prison phone illegally. Solitary confinement for 60 days. Amazing how quickly people can have accidents when they're isolated. Kimmy's knees nearly buckled. Please, she's innocent. The recording will prove it. What recording? Yemi's voice turned dangerous. There is no recording. There never was. Kwame was lying to manipulate you into committing crimes for him. But as he spoke, Yemi made a critical error. He stepped closer to intimidate Kimmy, not noticing that she was wearing a small recording device, a gift from her boyfriend who worked in electronic security. Let me explain how this works. Yemi continued, his mask of civility finally slipping. I killed Kojo Asante by sabotaging medical devices. I destroyed your sister's life to cover it up. I stole Kwame's company and fortune. And now I'm going to eliminate anyone who threatens my empire. Kimmy's recording device captured every word. But I'm not unreasonable, Yemi went on. Your sister can live comfortably in prison if you cooperate. Refuse, and she'll have a very unfortunate accident. Maximum security prisons are dangerous places. At that moment, the building's elevator dinged, and Inspector Okonkwo stepped out with 4 uniformed officers. Lagos police. Nobody move. Yemi spun around, his face going pale as he realized he'd been caught confessing to multiple murders. Inspector, perfect timing. He tried to recover his composure. I was just apprehending this woman for breaking and entering. Really? Inspector Okonkwo held up her phone, which had been recording the conversation from the stairwell. Because it sounds like you were confessing to sabotage and murder. The 2 bodyguards reached for their weapons, but the police officers were faster. Within seconds, Yemi was on the ground in handcuffs, his empire crumbling around him. Check his phone, Inspector Okonkwo ordered. I want every message, every call record, every piece of evidence. As they searched Yemi's devices, a horrifying picture emerged. The sabotage wasn't limited to Lagos. Yemi had been selling defective medical devices across West Africa, systematically destroying local companies to build his pharmaceutical monopoly. How many hospitals? Inspector Okonkwo demanded. 12 major facilities, Yemi snarled, his cultivated mass completely gone. And you'll never stop them all in time. The devices are already installed. People are going to die, and there's nothing you can do about it. But Kimmy was already moving. While the police handled Yemi, She slipped into Kwame's apartment and found the key exactly where he'd said it would be, behind the family photo of him and Kojo as children. 20 minutes later, she was at First Bank Lagos with Inspector Okonkwo, opening safety deposit box 447. Inside was a small digital recorder and a flash drive containing hundreds of files. Yemi's voice filled the bank vault as they listened to his recorded confession about sabotaging medical devices, stealing companies, and planning to expand his operation across Africa. "We need to get this to every hospital immediately," Inspector Okonkwo said urgently, "if those devices are already in use." Her phone rang before she could finish the sentence. "Inspector, this is Lagos University Teaching Hospital. We have a situation. 3 patients in cardiac surgery, all using heart valves that just failed simultaneously. Will they reach the hospitals in time to prevent more deaths? Can Amara and Kwame be freed before Yemi's final revenge plan destroys them?" Hit subscribe and ring that notification bell. The most shocking twist is coming next. We have 17 minutes before the next surgery starts, and those devices will kill everyone on the table. Inspector Okonkwo's voice crackled through the police radio as she raced through Lagos traffic with Kemi beside her, sirens blaring. Behind them, a convoy of police vehicles and medical emergency teams were spreading across the city to reach 12 different hospitals before more patients died. At Lagos University Teaching Hospital, Dr. Folake Adebayo was prepping for a critical heart surgery on 6-year-old Chioma Akwu. The little girl's congenital heart defect required immediate repair, and Dr. Adebayo had specifically requested the newest Asani Industries heart valve. "Doctor, we have an emergency call from Lagos police," a nurse burst into the prep room. "Something about defective medical devices." "I don't have time for this," Dr. Adebayo snapped, focused on saving the child's life. "We're already 10 minutes behind schedule." Meanwhile, at Kirikiri prison, chaos was erupting. News of Yemi's arrest had spread through the facility, and prisoners who'd been bribed to target Amara and Kwame were panicking. Without Yemi's protection and payments, they faced serious consequences. "Your boyfriend's evidence just destroyed half the pharmaceutical industry in West Africa," Guard Captain Adunni told Amara as she unlocked the solitary confinement cell. "Inspector Okonkwo wants to see you immediately." Amara stumbled out of the dark cell where she'd spent 3 days, her eyes adjusting to the harsh fluorescent lights. "Kwame? Where is he?" "Being released as we speak," along with formal apologies from the Lagos state government, the Nigeria Medical Association, and about 50 newspaper editors. But Amara wasn't thinking about vindication. Her medical training was screaming warnings about the crisis unfolding across the city. "How many hospitals are affected?" she demanded. 12 major facilities. Maybe more. I need to get a Lagos University Teaching Hospital. Now. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Dr. Adebayo was making the first incision on little Chioma when her phone buzzed with an emergency alert. She ignored it, focused entirely on the delicate surgery. Inspector Okonkwo burst through the hospital's main entrance with Kemi, running toward the cardiac surgery unit. They were stopped by security guards who didn't understand the urgency. "I'm police. We have a medical emergency." "Ma'am, you can't just. People are dying." Kemi screamed. "My sister is a doctor. She knows about the defective devices." At that moment, Amara and Kwame arrived in a police cruiser, still wearing their prison uniforms. Amara ran straight for the surgery floor, her medical ID, somehow, still working despite her suspension. She burst into operating room 3 just as Dr. Adebayo was about to install the heart valve. "Stop! Don't use that device." "Dr. Okafor?" Dr. Adebayo looked up in shock. "You're supposed to be in prison for." "The devices are sabotaged." Amara moved quickly to the instrument tray. "Serial number as 4477. Same batch that killed Kojo Asante. It'll fail within minutes of installation." Dr. Adebayo hesitated, her hands still holding the valve. On the table, 6-year-old Chioma's life hung in the balance. "I don't understand," Dr. Adebayo said. "These are brand new devices. Certified safe. The safety certificates are forged." Kwame appeared in the doorway, his voice urgent. Yemi Adebayo has been selling defective devices across West Africa. We have his confession on tape. Dr. Adebayo's face went white as she carefully set down the valve. What I use instead? This child needs surgery now. Emergency transport to Abuja General. Amara said quickly, checking Chioma's vitals. They have clean devices. But we need to stabilize her for transport. As they worked to save the little girl, Inspector Okonkwo was coordinating citywide. Her radio crackled with updates from other hospitals. University College Hospital, 3 devices removed before installation. National Hospital Abuja, surgery stopped with patient on bypass. Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital, 1 device already implanted. Patient is crashing. But even as they saved lives, a horrifying reality was emerging. Yemi's sabotage had been going on for months. Across West Africa, patients were walking around with defective devices already in their hearts. Time bombs waiting to fail. In his holding cell, Yemi smiled coldly as he watched the news coverage. You stopped today's surgeries, he told Inspector Okonkwo during interrogation. But there are already 300 people living with my devices. Heart valves, pacemakers, surgical mesh. They'll all fail eventually. You can't save them all. Where's the list of affected patients? Inspector Okonkwo demanded. Destroyed, along with the serial numbers and hospital records. Yemi leaned back smugly. I may go to prison, but my legacy will live on. Every patient death will be a reminder that you couldn't protect them. Back at Lagos University Teaching Hospital, Amara and Kwame worked side by side to coordinate the medical emergency response. Despite everything they'd been through, their connection felt stronger than ever. I'm sorry, Kwame said quietly as they reviewed patient files. For the disguise, for not telling you who I was. You were trying to find real love, Amara interrupted. I understand that now. Did I? Find real love. She looked up from a medical charts, meeting his eyes for the first time since the truth had come out. What do you think? Before he could answer, Dr. Adebayo approached with devastating news. We've identified 47 patients in Lagos alone who received Asani Industries devices in the past 6 months. Without the serial numbers, we can't determine which ones are sabotaged. Emergency cardiac screening for all of them, Amara decided. Full workups, immediate replacement of any suspicious devices. That's millions of naira in medical costs, Dr. Adebayo protested. The hospital can't afford. I'll cover it, Kwame said quietly. All of it. Every patient, every hospital, across West Africa, if necessary. Will they save all the patients with sabotage devices before it's too late? What final twist does Yemi have planned from his prison cell? Don't miss the heart-stopping conclusion. Like and subscribe to see if love truly conquers all. He's escaped, and he's taken the hospital's emergency medical supplies with him. Inspector Okonkwo's voice cut through the morning briefing at Lagos University Teaching Hospital like a scalpel. Amara dropped her coffee cup, watching it shatter on the floor, just like their hopes of ending Yemi's reign of terror. How was that possible? Kwame demanded, rising from his chair. Maximum security prison. 24-hour surveillance. Inside help. Inspector Okonkwo's face was grim. 3 guards, 2 administrators, and the deputy warden were all on his payroll. They staged a medical emergency transport that never made it to the hospital. Dr. Folake Adebayo pulled up the hospital's inventory system on her tablet. He didn't just escape. Our entire emergency cardiac supply is missing. Replacement valves, surgical equipment, even the backup generators for the operating rooms. Why steal medical supplies? Amara asked, though her medical training was already providing terrible answers. Because he knows we're screening hundreds of patients for defective devices, Kwame realized. Without replacement equipment, we can't help them when their devices fail. The scope of Yemi's revenge was becoming clear. Not only had he sabotaged devices across West Africa, but now he'd crippled their ability to save the victims when those devices inevitably failed. Meanwhile, 50 miles outside Lagos, Yemi was setting up operations in an abandoned pharmaceutical warehouse. His escape had been planned for months, with loyal followers and offshore accounts ensuring his continued power, even from the shadows. Status report. He demanded from his lieutenant, a corrupt medical supply distributor named Babangida. 12 major hospitals across Nigeria and Ghana have no emergency cardiac equipment, Tund reported. We control the replacement supply chain. They'll have to come to us. Perfect. And the pricing? Triple the normal cost. Cash only. No questions asked. Yemi's plan was diabolic in its simplicity. Create a medical crisis through sabotage, steal the equipment needed to fix it, then sell it back at extortionate prices to desperate hospitals trying to save lives. Back in Lagos, the first crisis hit at 2:47 p.m. Code Blue, cardiac surgery. The announcement echoed through Lagos University Teaching Hospital as Amara ran toward the emergency. She found 34-year-old Amara Okafor, no relation, collapsed in the waiting room, clutching her chest. 6 months earlier, Adani had received an Asante Industries heart valve during routine surgery. The valve is failing, Amara told Dr. Adebayo as they rushed Adani into surgery. Massive regurgitation. She needs immediate replacement. With what? Dr. Adebayo asked desperately. Our supply room is empty. The closest available valve is in Abuja, 4 hours away. She doesn't have 4 hours. Amara checked the monitors. Maybe 40 minutes before complete heart failure. Kwame appeared in the doorway, his phone pressed to his ear. I'm calling in favors. Military transport from Abuja General. Emergency clearance for medical supplies. 30 minutes. Dr. Adebayo cut him off. That's the fastest possible transport time, and it's not fast enough. At that moment, Amara's phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. Against protocol, she answered. Dr. Okafor? This is Tund Babangida from Emergency Medical Supply Solutions. I understand you need a heart valve urgently. Hope flared in Amara's chest. Yes, immediately. We have a patient dying. I can have one to you in 15 minutes. Cash payment of 2 million naira on delivery. 2 million. Amara gasped. The normal cost was 200,000 naira. That's highway robbery. That's supply and demand, doctor. Your patient, your choice. Amara looked at Kwame desperately. He nodded without hesitation. Done. 15 minutes. But as they waited for the delivery, more emergencies began hitting hospitals across the region. Patients with sabotage devices were going into cardiac failure simultaneously, as if the defects had been timed to activate together. It's coordinated, Kwame realized grimly. He didn't just sabotage devices randomly. He programmed them to fail at specific intervals. Inspector Okonkwo burst into the hospital with devastating news. We've traced Yemi's location, but there's a problem. He's holding medical supplies hostage at 12 different locations. If we raid one, he'll destroy the others. How many patients need emergency surgery? Amara asked. Across West Africa? Over 300, all in the next 24 hours. The medical supply arrived exactly on time, delivered by armed guards who demanded cash payment before releasing the life-saving device. As they wheeled Adani into surgery, Amara's hands shook with rage and helplessness. He's turned medicine into extortion, she whispered to Kwame. And we're paying because we have no choice. But as Dr. Adebayo began the replacement surgery, another shock awaited them. The replacement valve bore the same serial numbers as the defective devices they were trying to replace. This is sabotage too, Amara realized with horror. He's selling us the same defective devices, just at higher prices. On the operating table, Adani Okafor's heart rate was dropping rapidly. They were out of time, out of options, and trapped in Yemi's deadly game. Has Yemi created the perfect crime where every choice leads to death? Will Amara have to install a device she knows will kill her patient? The shocking climax is next. Smash that subscribe button to see how this deadly game ends. Install the device or let her die. Either way, blood is on your hands. Amara stared at the defective heart valve in her gloved hands, knowing that installing it would kill Adani Okafor within weeks, but refusing to install it would kill her within minutes. On the operating table, the young mother's heart was failing rapidly. Doctor, we need a decision now, the anesthesiologist warned. Blood pressure dropping. We're losing her. Through the glass window of the operating room, Kwame watched the woman he loved face an impossible choice. In the hallway behind him, Inspector Okonkwo was coordinating with SWAT teams across 3 states, trying to locate Yemi's hidden supply warehouses. "I have an idea," Dr. Folake Adebayo said suddenly. "It's risky, but it might work." "Tell me," Amara demanded, still holding the sabotage valve. "Temporary mechanical support. We bypass the failed valve entirely and keep her heart pumping artificially while we find a clean replacement." "For how long?" Amara asked, though she already knew the answer would be devastating. 72 hours maximum. After that, the artificial pump will cause blood clots that will kill her anyway. It wasn't a solution. It was just buying time they didn't have. Meanwhile, in his warehouse stronghold, Yemi was orchestrating the largest medical extortion scheme in African history. His phone buzzed constantly with desperate calls from hospitals across West Africa, all begging for replacement devices at his extortionate prices. "Sir, we have a problem," Tund reported nervously. "The police have surrounded the Port Harcourt warehouse." "Let them," Yemi smiled coldly. "The supplies there are decoys anyway. Empty boxes and worthless equipment. The real medical devices are in locations they'll never find." But Yemi had underestimated the determination of people fighting for lives they loved. At Lagos University Teaching Hospital, Kwame Okafor had been quietly working her own investigation. As a bank employee, she had access to financial records that police couldn't obtain quickly. She'd been tracing Yemi's money transfers, looking for patterns. "Amara," Kwame burst into the operating room, where her sister was installing the temporary heart pump. "I found something." "Not now, Kwame. I'm trying to save a life." "That's exactly why you need to hear this." Kwame held up printouts of bank transactions. Yemi's been paying rent on storage facilities. 12 locations, but one pattern. They're all near airports. Inspector Okonkwo appeared beside Kwame. He's planning to flee the country. The medical supplies are at his escape routes. "Murtala Muhammad Airport," Kwame said suddenly. "There's a private cargo facility there. My company used it for pharmaceutical shipments." Within minutes, Inspector Okonkwo was coordinating a massive police operation. But as SWAT teams surrounded the airport facility, Yemi's final trap was revealed. "Inspector, you need to see this," the team leader radioed. "The warehouse is rigged with explosives. If we breach, he'll destroy everything inside." The medical supplies that could save hundreds of lives were being held hostage by a madman willing to kill everyone rather than face justice. In the operating room, Amara completed the temporary procedure on Adunni Okafor. The mechanical heart pump was working, but the clock was now ticking toward an inevitable deadline. 71 hours and counting. Dr. Adebayo announced grimly. "Doctor," a nurse burst in with devastating news. "We have 17 more patients in emergency cardiac failure, all with failing Asante Industries devices. They need surgery immediately." Amara felt the weight of impossible mathematics crushing her spirit. Even if they could get clean devices from Yemi's warehouse, they couldn't perform 18 complex heart surgeries in 72 hours with their current resources. But Kwame had been making calls of his own. "Emergency medical teams are flying in from South Africa, Kenya, and Egypt," he announced. 6 cardiac surgery teams, complete with their own equipment and replacement devices. "Ow!" Amara asked in amazement. Money talks, and when you're trying to save lives, pride doesn't matter. But even as hope flickered, their phones buzzed with a video message from Yemi. He appeared on screen, standing in the airport warehouse, surrounded by pallets of medical equipment. "Dr. Okafor, Mr. Asante, Inspector Okonkwo, you forced my hand." Behind him, they could see the explosive devices wired throughout the warehouse. "I'm offering you a final deal. 1 billion naira transferred to my offshore accounts, and I'll release the medical supplies. Refuse, and I destroy everything and disappear forever." 1 billion naira? Inspector Okonkwo gasped. "That's extortion on a massive scale. That's the price of saving lives." Yemi's voice was calm, reasonable, and absolutely terrifying. "You have 1 hour to decide. After that, I detonate the warehouse and disappear into the wind." Will they pay Yemi's ransom to save hundreds of lives? Can love and justice triumph over greed and revenge? The explosive finale is coming. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications to see how this deadly game finally ends. The warehouse is empty. Every single medical device is gone. Inspector Okonkwo's voice echoed through the SWAT team radio as officers searched the airport facility that was supposed to contain life-saving medical equipment. Instead, they found only empty crates and a mocking video message from Yemi. In the hospital, Amara felt her heart sink as she watched 18 patients fighting for their lives with failing hearts. The temporary measures were buying time, but time was running out fast. 46 hours left on Aduni's artificial pump. Dr. Adebayo reported grimly. The others are even worse. We're going to lose them all. But Kwame was staring at something on his phone that made his eyes widen with sudden understanding. He made a mistake, Kwame said quietly. Yemi made a critical mistake. What do you mean? Amara moved closer to him. The video he sent from the warehouse. Look at the timestamp. Kwame showed her his phone. It was recorded 3 days ago, before his escape. The warehouse has been empty the whole time. Inspector Okonkwo's radio crackled with confirmation. Bomb Squad reports the explosives are fake. Hollywood props. And we found something else. Shipping manifest showing medical equipment moved to Port Harcourt Medical Center. That doesn't make sense, Amara said. Port Harcourt Medical Center is a legitimate hospital. Unless it's not. Kwame's mind was racing. What if Yemi never intended to destroy the medical supplies? What if he's been planning something else entirely? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Emeka Nwosu from Abuja General Hospital called with shocking news. Inspector Okonkwo, we've discovered something extraordinary. The medical devices we thought were sabotaged, some of them are working perfectly, but they're sending data to an external server. What kind of data? Inspector Okonkwo asked. Patient heart rhythms, blood pressure, surgical outcomes. Everything. Someone has been using sabotage devices to collect medical data on hundreds of patients across West Africa. The horrifying truth began to emerge. Yemi hadn't just been stealing companies and extorting hospitals. He'd been conducting illegal medical experiments on unsuspecting patients, collecting data to sell to international pharmaceutical companies. The failures were intentional. Amara realized with growing horror. He needed patients to die at specific intervals to test different variables. We weren't treating victims of sabotage. We were treating test subjects in an unauthorized clinical trial. At Port Harcourt Medical Center, the final confrontation was about to unfold. Yemi had converted an entire wing of the hospital into a secret research facility, complete with servers containing medical data worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But he hadn't counted on one thing, the loyalty of people who'd been betrayed. Tunba Banjida, the corrupt medical supplier who'd helped Yemi escape, had been listening to the screams of dying patients for 3 days. His own daughter had received one of the sabotage devices, and guilt was consuming him. I can't do this anymore, Tun told Yemi as police sirens wailed in the distance. These are innocent people. Children. Mothers. It's too late for conscience, Yemi snarled, frantically copying data files to portable drives. Help me finish this, and we'll both be rich enough to buy new consciences. But Tund had already made his choice. He quietly unlocked the facility's doors and disabled the security systems, allowing Inspector Okonkwo's team to enter undetected. The final confrontation took place in a sterile computer lab filled with the heartbeats of hundreds of unwitting test subjects. Yemi stood surrounded by servers containing the stolen medical data that had cost so many lives. You're too late, Yemi said calmly as SWAT officers surrounded him. The data is already uploaded to international buyers. Even if you arrest me, the experiments will continue in other countries. Not if we have something you want more than money. Kwame stepped out from behind the SWAT team. And what's that? Your life. Kwame held up a syringe filled with clear liquid. Potassium chloride. The same drug you've been using to ensure your test subjects die on schedule. One injection, and your heart stops within minutes. You're bluffing. Yemi backed against the server rack. You're not a killer. You murder my brother. You destroyed the woman I love. You turned medicine into a weapon. Kwame's voice was cold as ice. Give me one reason why you deserve to live. For the first time, genuine fear flickered in Yemi's eyes. But before anyone could move, Amara stepped between them. Because we're not like him, she said quietly, taking the syringe from Kwame's hands. We save lives. We don't take them. Amara, the patients are dying while we're here, playing revenge games. She turned to Inspector Okonkwo. Where are the real medical devices? Tun stepped forward, tears streaming down his face. Hidden in the basement. Clean devices, never sabotaged. Enough to save everyone. 24 hours later, Lagos University Teaching Hospital was transformed. International medical teams worked around the clock, replacing sabotaged devices with clean ones. Adunni Okafor was the first success, her new heart valve functioning perfectly. As the sun rose over Lagos, Amara and Kwame stood together on the hospital's roof garden, watching ambulances depart with saved patients. 18 successful surgeries, Amara said softly. Everyone survived. And Yemi, life imprisonment. The international medical data, trafficking charges alone will keep him locked up forever. Kwame took her hand, and for the first time in months, Amara didn't pull away. I have a confession, Kwame said. When I started the beggar disguise, I was looking for someone who could love me despite my money. But you taught me something better. What's that? Money means nothing if you don't use it to help people you love. He gestured toward the hospital below, where their combined efforts had saved hundreds of lives. I want to spend the rest of my life loving you and using everything I have to make sure no one else suffers like we did. Amara looked into his eyes, no longer the desperate beggar she'd met outside the mall, but the man who'd stood by her through betrayal, imprisonment, and the fight for justice. The billionaire and the doctor, she smiled. Think that story has a happy ending. I think, Kwame said, pulling her closer, our story is just beginning. 6 months later, Dr. Amara Okafor stood before the West African Medical Association, announcing the launch of the Kojo Asani Foundation for Medical Device Safety. Beside her, her husband Kwame had donated his entire pharmaceutical fortune to ensuring that no patient would ever again be used as an unwitting test subject. Their love story had begun with deception and nearly ended in tragedy. But in the end, it had become something beautiful, a partnership that would save countless lives and prove that true love, combined with the courage to do what's right, could indeed conquer all. And that's how a billionaire's disguise led to the greatest love story West Africa had ever seen. A love built not on money or deception, but on the shared commitment to saving lives and fighting for justice. If you love this epic tale of love, betrayal, and redemption, smash that like button and subscribe for more incredible African love stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat.